about the causes, the consequences of not acting responsibly. So it is one way in which we will be inculcating the word responsibility through our campaigns.
Who would be a go-to person in your case? Like you said that you'll be going
Is the question relevant to the theme? Irrelevant question. The theme is positioning, so is it relevant?
Okay.
No, I'm asking, is your question relevant to the theme? The theme is, you define an activity, you define a word, and you articulate how you're going to execute your positioning strategy around that word.
Okay, yeah, the theme becomes relevant. The question becomes relevant because she said that she'll be positioning it with the help of the go-to person. So you need to first define who would be a go-to person.
They will be people who are environment activists, or the people who are in charge of NGOs which are working for environment. Yeah, the people like that.
Okay.
So is it just that you will be using for position strategy, or do you have some other strategies to go along?
Yeah, even in our operations, we will be setting some guidelines, and we will be hiring, like in the HR part also, we will be hiring people who are aligned with the brand position, like who are responsible and who are aligned with that name or that word. So
But how does the sorry to interrupt, but how does that let audience know of the brand word responsibility? How do you plan to do that?
Okay, if I could just take over. We have two different aspects here. One is where we are communicating directly to the citizens of the nation, and the other is our since our project is primarily B2B. It revolves around government contracts, or even in the future, even with industries that would like to use our technology. So while communicating with the citizens, we would like to host large scale events and campaigns and such to educate them, and that is where we would take the word responsibility to drive that into them. In the other aspect, we as an organization would like to have people who are very passionate about the cause, and we would like, and that is why we would have all these HR guidelines and stuff as well, so that we as an organization can always have our passion and our main cause clear in our minds. So I hope that answers your question.
Do you think being B2B company would adulterate or would not be sufficient to make your voice heard?
Is this relevant to the theme?
Like, will that not be something?
You're talking of whether
that
you're talking of whether the business strategy is correct or not, but the theme here is their positioning strategy. So is your question related to the theme?
No. Anyone else would like to go?
Do you think just doing campaigns and focusing on the word responsibility will be enough to position to the word responsibility?
It won't be. Yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, Shivani.
Yeah, so to an extent it would, and also it's kind of a environment cause, right? So many such activities have been carried out in the same respect. Maybe an association with those people can also bring out that sense that we are trying to communicate.
Can you answer the question? Will it be enough running different campaigns and talking of responsibility? Is it enough to own the word responsibility?
Yeah, so I'm saying it's like enough to an extent, but of course more activities can be carried out.
Okay, fair enough. Over to question box.
Yeah, so okay, so there was this thing where you said that you will only hire the people who are passionate, right? So does that mean that you are positioning that only the people who are passionate about about environment will be responsible?
I think we are sort of leading towards the direction that people who are passionate about the environment would be better suited to educate and inculcate that responsibility in other people.
Yeah.
Since we as an organization cannot do all of the work, we need to ensure that the people do their work.
Okay, how are they better in inculcating
This
the
is this relevant to the theme?
Yes, I think it is relevant because if you are only portraying that only the passionate people would come in the organization, then are you like not educating the unpassionate people out there?
She never said she's not educating. She never said that she's not educating the others. She said she's going to hire the passionate people to educate all. So how is this relevant?
Okay.
This is her positioning strategy, that this is how she's going to try and own the word responsibility in her target customer's mind.
Then won't you be, targeting a specific group of people?
No, are you confusing your target group with your employees?
No.
Yes, we did that.
You
I
are.
mean, I did.
Yeah. Wait.
Okay. Okay, I have some questions now before we move to jury questions. So, so beyond these active, I mean, when you talk of activities and when you talking of responsibility, I mean, sorry, you said that you can do other things. So could you elaborate on what could be the other things you could do beyond activities and talking about responsibility?
So as one thing I said, we can associate with people. The association itself can be used as a marketing strategy or something.
But how will that association help you in driving the word responsibility?
Yeah, may I answer the
Yeah.
question? Yeah, so apart from that, when we as an organization are taking the raw material, right? We for plant will need some raw material. If we are taking those raw material from the organic or the environmental friendly manner, so that it will show the people that we are not only just talking about responsibility, but we are also implementing it. So this is also the one way to.
But how do you ensure that people perceive it as an act of responsibility? People could perceive it as something else also. I mean, people could perceive it as an act of say I mean, it could be anything else, right? Apart from responsibility.
Yeah, so that would be the
Actually,
work of so the thought leaders, which will be communicating with the people, with ordinary, like the audience, will have the job to convey this message in this direction. So it's their job, and they'll
Okay.
do it
One
in
more
this
question.
particular.
Yeah, one more question before I move to jury members is, could you talk of, like just now you stated one experience. Could you talk of two other but very different experiences through which again you can reinforce the word responsibility? You spoke of giving plants and or growing plants with these materials and having thought leaders articulate the act of responsibility in this. So could you articulate two other experiences through which you could reinforce the word responsibility?
One major way would be as this requires people to separate wet and dry garbages. One way would be if we could get enough collaborations, we could help by supplying as many people as we could with two separate garbage cans for their own homes, so that it
If I'm
becomes.
audience, if I'm part of the audience, what is that experience you're putting me through which you are reinforcing the word responsibility around your brand?
so as many of the organizations before had done it, we can make use of logos and taglines. Yes. So I'm not sure what exact tagline I'll go for, but
Yeah, I would like
Okay,
to.
in your tagline, you're going to come again and again throw the word responsibility to me. Okay, fair enough. That is one experience. I'm reading responsibility multiple times. Okay, any other experience?
Also, when the campaigns are held, when the people are coming, the all the atmosphere, the just like she said, logos, and also the where the ambience of the building or the people who are working there, their how they are dressed, and the how the people are talking, and we will build a strategy to emphasize
So
like all these.
how will the ambience or the hospitality of people reinforce the word responsibility to me?
So yeah, if there's one example. So if a lot of people are there, the management, how they are coming, the discipline also will lead to responsibility.
That's a very far connection. Yeah,
So
One other idea could be, since we are focused towards environment saving, but we are concentrating right now on the waste management part. Also, when we hold these campaigns, they shouldn't all be just about waste management. We could also have drills and such, or
you're not
have
answering my question. What is that experience you want to put people through, and how are you
yeah.
going to use this word?
So I was leaning towards the direction of other ways you could responsibly help the environment. We would like to involve people, say cleaning drills or something like that, where we organize it. We ourselves, our organization people, participate in it and encourage other people to participate. So if they go through a whole day of say that, it automatically leaves them with some memories and some a new idea of it in their brain. So then they incline towards, say, as pura, they say they clean the whole street one day. So obviously they will also go home and realize that maybe we should also start the garbage separation.
Okay. Now I would like to invite the jury members, to ask the questions.
Joydeep ji, would you want to go first or?
No, I think you have some experience of social, so I think I will leave the space for you. I have some questions. In fact, when I was hearing, sometimes I was in the answer box and sometimes I was in the question box.
I am as much confused as you are, sir, but I'll take the privilege of going forward. I mean, Socratic dialogue is such a kind of thing. Guys, the question box and the answer box, I have deduced certain assumptions on which you want to position your product, especially for the answer box, guys. Your organization is a B2B one? Yes?
Yes.
No? Yes.
Yes.
Your primary user is the government. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Right. Who is your end user?
The customer, the consumer, the ordinary people.
The ordinary people. Why do we call them as audience?
We just associated the
audience is passive. Say you are successful as long as your whatever technology you are giving is used productively by the end user, right? Whoever pays is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Am I right in understanding? It can be a government today, it can be an NGO tomorrow, somebody else X sponsors your program. So end user is a definition, is not audience, right?
Yes.
So in positioning, I believe, I mean, this is my perception. So the word responsibility has to be communicated to the end user. Am I right in understanding?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
As long as you treat them passively, your positioning will be passive.
Yes.
So we will go around using lot of words in defining them. That's my take on that. But now if you are actually defining your end user, right, how will you communicate responsibility, as in responsibility to act, be it segregation of waste like organic, inorganic, or as in responsibility, as in being an influencer for their community? That is motivating. You said you will use NGOs and like-minded people. Responsibility as an influencer, and responsibility as in leading the entire communities. There are three levels.
In a Socratic format, we like the questions being shorter.
Right.
So in the
agreed. So in this context,
as a moderator, I can't permit this. I'm sorry.
Agreed. I established the context. Now the question is in the given context, when the user is defined, how will you reposition your responsibility for these people?
No, repositioning is, I think, not in the scope of the questionnaire. The theme is to look at the positioning strategy.
Positioning only. I'm talking about positioning responsibility as a word where these people can own it.
Okay. Is the question clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so if I could just take this as far as I have understood it, I think you pretty much defined it very nicely. So as you talk about it, you have the normal citizens, you have people who could aspire to be influencing other people, and also people who would influence the entire community as a whole. So if we are making them three different groups of people. And we still need to stick to the same positioning. I think what we would do is one, for the normal people, I think we would still like to stick to campaigns and drills and other people educating them. For the second sector of people who want to be influencers, we could host some things, some events where we would like such people to come to us. We would tell them that we are open to them, like them to come to us, and then equip them with as many resources as we can, so that they can then send and spread our message far and wide. And for the third people, such as you said, community leaders and such, I think we would like to reach out to them. We would like to, if even if they could, we would like to explain our entire proceedings to them. And even if they could even if they would agree with us, we would also, one, like their advice on it, and two, we would ask them personally if they could pass on our message to their entire community. And if they would be so grateful as to do that, half of our work would be done for us.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So, do you have a follow-up question to that?
No, but it is little controversial. I will spare it for the end.
No, it's okay. Controversy is nice in Socrates.
Sorry, right. Swachh Bharat, do you think? I mean, a similar thing.
No, but sir, do you have a follow-up question?
That's the follow-up question. Swachh Bharat has relevance to your waste management thing as a positioning. There has been a lot of positioning on Swachh Bharat thing. So you might, I'm assuming, I mean, given the thing, I'm assuming you did your homework on all the kind of events which are relevant to your project. So Swachh Bharat thing, do you think was communicated as in positioning, or was it not communicated as in positioning properly?
I think answer.
Yeah, please go ahead, Richa.
So you are asking if it was positioned properly or not, right?
Yes.
So in my opinion, it was not done properly. It is still in the process, but still it has not.
When you say it's not positioned properly, what do you mean by that sentence?
Because whenever I go out, Swachh Bharat does not ring a bell of like.
So you mean to say campaign is ineffective, or you mean to say the campaign was not positioned properly? They're two different sentences.
Campaign is ineffective.
Okay, so question is, was it positioned properly?
So
if I could just slightly disagree with what she said, I think it was positioned quite nicely, because even though it was started so early, we still to this day, as soon as you say the word Swachh Bharat, we all have a very clear idea in our minds of what you're talking about. So I think it was positioned quite nicely. There were a lot of events hosted, there were a lot of big names who effectively did the positioning. However, I do believe that it did not reach its complete potential as the campaign. So it was ineffective in that way, but the positioning was definitely there.
So do you have a follow-up question to that?
No, I wanted to ask them to think over in the latter time also, parallels between this thing and responsibility as in authenticity is the word for you. That's the only thing I wanted to tell you. Thank you, Tarun.
Okay, so maybe I would like to take over Yugandar's question and ask any particular reason for using, I mean, would you think responsibility is a better position for you to take, or authenticity is a better position for you to take? Authentic or responsible, which position would you want to take as a business?
If I could go ahead.
Yeah.
I would like to stick with responsibility, since we are communicating our primarily we were focusing on communicating to the entire citizens of the nation. So I think responsibility is a word that that would influence more in them. So compared to authenticity, where they would try to at some point maybe not relate themselves with that, so completely just
I think I get your point.
yeah, I'm not able to articulate it, but
Yeah.
I have something to add on this thing.
Responsibility as in positioning, authenticity as in execution. I mean, if I may say so, I may help you to answer.
Usually done around one word, right? So we're looking at how you position a brand. So
she wants to go with responsibility. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So we had this point from previous discussion that communication is also important, right? So like if we choose responsibility, it's much more easier to communicate than authenticity, I feel.
Okay. So now we'll be happy to take Mr. Joydeep's questions. I mean, he is an authority on this subject, so it'll be interesting to sort of listen to his questions.
So this whole word authority is quite destabilizing, but nonetheless, I'll start off with giving you a sense. You know, responsibility and authenticity are two very generic words. It means nothing unless it is complete. Right? So, for example, the word love means nothing unless I complete it. I love God. Suddenly I become spiritual. I love animals. Suddenly I become an animal activist. I love gadgets. Suddenly I become a technology guy. So in your business, this word, responsibility or authenticity in itself is incomplete. So I don't think these are solid words for positioning. Responsibility is every organization's, work. Authenticity is what you always expect. So two things which are very critical for positioning is the incentive that I believe in what you are saying. So you have to incentivize me. Second is what emotions I evoke, right? So if you are into garbage and if you're into cleaning, what is very critical for you to is communicate what are you doing for me. So my question, going back to what Tarun was trying to touch on, is what experiences are you giving me? Are you giving me a solid experience? If that is the solid experience, then I believe what you're telling me. And then you become a thought leader. For example, internet search. Who do you think is a thought leader?
Google.
Right. Who told you this? Did Google come and tell you that, boss, I am the thought leader?
No.
No. The experience that Google gave, the continuous thing that Google did over a period of time. So if I tell you Tesla, what is the thing that rings in your head?
Electric cars.
Is that the only thing?
No.
Innovation.
Sustainable.
Right. So the point is, in your business, that experience that Tarun was referring to is very, very critical. You should have touched on that experience. And there are two ways you can touch on experience. Create some new experience which people didn't have, or ride on a current experience that people are having. So my question to you guys is not ideas. What are the experience you are touching? So now think about the experience in terms of the government or the end user. Try to respond from that point of view.
Okay, so I don't know if this will accurately answer your question, but I'm going to try. One of the objectives when we are discussing this was that we would like to eventually completely eradicate garbage dumps altogether. Instead of those, we could have these plants that could very efficiently do their job. So garbage dumps, as we know, cause a lot of nuisance to a lot of people everywhere, in small scale and in large scale as well. So I think one experience that we could try would be, it wouldn't be something immediate, but once we get our products out there and get it working, and once those garbage dumps start reducing, I think we could then communicate to the audience that this is what we have done, this is what, because some of you at least helped us, this is what we were able to do. Now look at all of the bad things that don't happen, and now help us do it further.
So I mean, now Sarah, just tell me, in this context, what is your positioning word, or maybe a few words?
think the positioning word would still be that someone took responsibility. So now you should take it.
Someone is vague. Someone is vague. You need to be very precise. You need to be very pinpointed. Because at the end of the day, whatever you do, at the end of the day, you want some emotions to come out, right? You know, some simple things linger. Complex things, vague things, no matter how surreal those vague things can be, it does not linger. It gets, dissipated.
So if you're asking us if we would like to sort of bring in another word or change it, I don't think we would change what we started with. But
what do you start with? What do you start with?
As in, say this brand has already started with keeping responsibility, and then it has gone on to do this. Then we would like to, when we are informing the audience of this experience that we reduce garbage dumps, this is what happened. We would like to bring in some phrases revolving, I think, around clean and fresh. I think that would be a good, a second, not so as to change our original completely, but so as to invoke a second phase in them. That now, because this happened, we now have access to fresh air.
Would it be the first phase which evokes a thing which is responsible? You don't speak responsible, but it means responsible.
I'm not.
Do you know Mondelez? Mondelez chocolates?
Yeah.
They do a lot of activity. They sell chocolates, right?
Yeah.
But they do a lot of activities in responsible snacking. They do a lot of activities in responsible inputs, which are sustainable inputs. They do a lot of activity in ensuring that plastics do not get into the soil. They do those activities. That has nothing to do with chocolates directly. But what does that connote? Responsibility. So maybe you need to look at words like, I help you stay clean. I help you clean. Obviously, those are responsible. Ultimately, see, I'm telling you, responsible in itself could mean anything. It needs to be very laser sharp, clear cut in what happens. Sorry, Tarun, I'm taking a lot of time, but I felt that it was important to point this out.
I agree with everything you've said, sir. I think maybe we would, if this are a real this.
Socratic dialogue is not about agreement. It is about disagreement relating to a larger agreement.
Yes.
So, Mr. Joydeep, I have a question for you.
Yeah, please.
So, Tata's, I don't know if they're positioned, but they've owned the word trust, right?
They did not use the word trust. They owned the word trust.
Okay. So, is it not possible?
That trust came over 100 years.
Okay. Okay. So, is it possible for brands to own very fundamental and generic words?
So, you will never be able to hold on to fundamental and generic words. Those are emotions that evoke. Tata means trust. Tata never writes trust in us. The moment you say trust in me means there are some reasons for not to trust. Nike says just do it. What does it mean? I mean, today you need not, you just see the swoosh and you know it's Nike. It is because of certain actions they have continuously done. Nike has always, championed the never-ending human spirit of achieving things, doing things. So just do it. So that's how, today, if I tell you what Nike means to you, obviously they are responsible. They make amazing shoes. They also speak about human endeavor. Isn't that responsibility inculcating in you? So at the end of the day, you do certain, that is why I was focusing on the word experience. I need to have a solid experience about this particular product your company is launching or doing. And then I actually establish responsibility. You cannot start with the word responsibility. It has to be internal. At the end of the day, I need to communicate this. For example, the moment this session ends, by the words that I'm using, by the way I'm talking, by the experience I'm trying to deliver to you guys, you will hold on to a certain feeling about me. Horrible guy, brilliant guy, he can be forgotten. These are feelings, right? But while I'm talking to you, I already know how I would like to position myself. That's very, very critical. I have not said a single word that you guys did not speak, because you are speaking right. But as Tarun was trying to laser sharp his points, I'm trying to do that. And that's the reason I'm speaking so much. Otherwise, my simple question is, what is the experience? I would have said that responsible is a very vague word, means nothing unless it is complete. Trust means nothing unless you see the Tata cars, the Tata Salt, the Tata Steel, the Tata investments outside, the TCS. There are so many activities which has happened. Ultimately, Tata means trust. Tata means India. Today, Tata is a forerunner in getting, the airlines, Indian Airlines, back in shape. And they started it long time back. So the fact is, whatever you do, answer box, question box, the fact is, positioning might be a word, but that is a very lofty word. To achieve that word, you do need to do a lot of things, which are experiences. How do you, and these experiences need to add up. Suddenly you do something because you felt that that is a good experience to have. It really doesn't work that way. So at the end of the day, if your company needs to tell me as an end user, be it the government, there has to be some activities continuously happening. Innovation in easy conversion of plastic to degradable material, if you have a technology for that. In fact, these days there are some chemicals being used, some genomes being used, which will eat into plastic to create disposable stuff. So those things are in place. The fact is, are you guys a forerunner in that? Are you communicating it to me? Are you giving me an experience that I do not have? Are you helping me to become a hero? Just imagine I go out on the streets and somebody says Joydeep is a dirty person. And somebody says Joydeep is a person who helps clean the environment. Doesn't matter how much I help, but if somebody tells me, I am from Economic Times. So many people hold the Economic Times to project that they're very intellectual. That is what the brand has achieved. That's a positioning. I'm sorry, my intention was not to create so much of silence.
I have a question here. So now Sciencession and Deep Thought, both the brands have been trying to occupy the word research. So research again is a very generic word. But having said that, because we're a very fundamental innovation, and when people come and see a program, where questions are asked with such focus and children are able to speak well, they go back with the word research in their mind. So is it a good strategy to try and own a fundamental word like research, or would it backfire?
No, it will not backfire, provided you know how to justify it. If you keep on telling the audience that our research showed that if you do this, this is the outcome. Research says, research does, So the point is, your actions are more important than the word. The word is an outcome of your actions.
So how do you label the action with the word eventually as a communication strategy?
So the point is, if you want to project yourself as a research-led company,
no, not research-led company, but research-focused learning, where research is the medium of learning.
Right. I mean, research is obviously here. Your action should be such. For example, if learning by research, if you're talking about the Socratic dialogue, you need to put test cases in front of me, which tells me that this works. This actually makes me a better individual. This actually makes X number of people coming together better decision makers. That is very, very critical. There was this example of Swachh Bharat. Very interestingly, I have read it somewhere that if you follow the guidelines of Swachh Bharat, you would be better in your life. How do I prove this to you? A standard person in a rural setting spends around 12,000 to 22,000 per year on health. That is either funded by the government or the guy just suffers. He needs that money. If you delve into Swachh Bharat, then that 22,000 you need not spend. This is a direct return to me. I would know what I gain by being clean. There was a campaign of Life Insurance Corporation which was happening, and it was happening at a very base level. We were talking to rickshaw pullers, and there was street theater happening. And we innovated on the spot because there were some people who were smoking and having tea. And we realized that a per day insurance premium of sub 10 rupees is enough to secure the guy and his family. 10 rupee means 2 cups of tea and 2 cigarettes. So the dialogue in the street theater said that if you cut down on 2 cigarettes and 2 cups of tea daily, you take care of your health and you take care of your family. Somebody actually come and said just that. So you're making people think. So research should put those anecdotes out and people will know this is a company whose core word is research because they do it. Otherwise, nobody would believe.
Yeah, now moving to the second phase, which is thought leadership. So the second team, I request you to come up with your presentation for QFD2 of what is the cause you've picked and how are you demonstrating thought leadership in this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we are going with a platform that will create resumes for people, which will be a reforming approach to initiate relationship with students who are coming out of the system and with employees who are looking for creative minds. And the word we are positioning around is dynamic. Over to you, Abhinav.
So basically, we are kind of creating a platform, and we will be the go-to.
I hope you got the QFD right. You're going with QFD2, thought leadership, not positioning. No, thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you exhibiting thought leadership? That's the question.
Right. So being having a dynamic resume with endorsements going on inside the skills as well as having some recommendations, we make one more credible, right? Also, we'll be having some quizzes inside the platform which will help them test their own skills. So as on when a user is going to take up those quizzes to get their skills more proficient, that will...
How is this related to the question?
Should I go in?
The positioning.
Yeah, should I go in?
I mean, people, I see this as a problem every time I deal with college students. Why do we hang on to our egos that badly?
Yeah.
For a moment, let's step back and think, what is the question asking us and what are we answering? We're in a tearing hurry to present our opinion. So take a quick moment, think of the question and then answer the question. What is the cause you've picked and how are you demonstrating thought leadership in that cause?
So the thought we are going on with is creating value in the relationship between an employee and a student who is approaching a creative field. We will be working in different verticals in creative field, and in thought leadership aspect, we will be this platform will be something new. The audience that as it will be based on EQ and LQ, learnability and emotional coding. So there is not a platform out there like this. So we are riding on the wave of something, bringing something new and being that provocative voice, saying ki,
how are you demonstrating thought leadership here?
Okay, just a moment.
So basically, we are helping them through the quizzes to empower themselves, right? They are getting proficient with the skills, so we are empowering our.
What is thought leadership? What is thought leadership?
So it's like there are multiple aspects to thought leadership, right?
Get a definition, please. You know, in these schools, there's a word called faffing, where you just use some words just like that. So can we bring some rigor? What is thought leadership?
We are aiming to be a credible and a clean voice in the market, saying ki this is the change and we are going to bring it.
Okay, guys, let's work with the definition. The definition we are working with in our Socratic dialogue is thought leadership is when the audience, the audience care about your opinion, right? So there is a certain audience and the audience cares about your opinion, right? And a corollary of this is you become the go-to person because audience care about your opinion. This is the framework with which you're working, right? So now, how are you exhibiting thought leadership? How are you making your audience care about your opinion?
Yeah, so I'm not very comfortable like what I mean. I just started with them. So yeah, so what I think they are like we are trying to portray is that so we are making endorsements and we are trying to build a resume with the help of with the help of an app that will establish credibility in terms like you are endorsing someone. So the endorsement shouldn't be.
How do you make your audience care about your opinion as an organization?
So what we might do is like while we are endorsing, like we can have such kind of algorithm in the app that gives you a proper endorsement. So if you have a proper and correct endorsement,
your product is good. Your product is good. Fair enough. My question is, how does audience care about your opinion? Why would audience care about your opinion? How do you reach there?
Yeah, so the audience being the students who are going to get out of the education system and entering the workforce, we are going with a factor like learnability and EQ, and these are the new waves which right now considered as a factor of growth. So if the audience is focused,
the audience would care about your company, but why would they care about your opinion? You're talking of learnability and say EQ, they'll come to you to learn those two. But why will they care about your opinion as a company?
We are ensuring their growth. That's why.
You're ensuring their growth, they'll buy your service. But why will they care about your opinion? Why does your opinion get an authority? Agreed, Socratic dialogue and authority don't go well together. But the traditional definition of thought leadership is when your voice gets an authority or when your opinion gets an authority status where people are coming and seeking it.
We are ensuring that they are doing it, they are getting at better places or better places.
That's why they buy your product. But why will they care about your opinion? See,
because we are
if you sell me the best gulab jamun, if you sell me the best gulab jamun, does it mean that I am interested in your opinion on food?
So the thing is, because of our opinion, they are getting the experience they are desiring for, right? So of course they will care for our opinion that way, right?
I asked this question: if I'm serving you the best gulab jamun in the city, will you care about my opinion on food?
Okay. May I take this like I don't know the direction, but the point. Yeah. So if the gulab jamun, let's say, is portraying the word excellence, and it is branded on you, like this is the excellent gulab jamun in the entire city. You have to go for this. So it is something to do with the positioning, and if we are positioning our brand as a
we're mixing issues. Why will someone care about my opinion on food if I'm the best gulab jamun seller?
If you are diversifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pura.
They'll care about the opinion of, your opinion. If you are the person who is selling the best gulab jamun, when you maybe collaborate your gulab jamun with the best maybe kachori that we have in the city.
Beating around the bush. My question is, why will people care? When will people care about my opinion?
When they see result.
When they see result, okay. Result of what?
Result of other people getting.
Getting what?
Okay, let's talk about this in Gulab Jamun Kartan because that's.
No, why will people care? See, let's distinguish the product and the organization. I am an organization. I have an opinion as an organization. Why will people care about my opinion? Yeah. Let's say
Okay,
I'm Tata Motors. I'm Tata Motors. I've got different products. Put my products aside. Me as Tata Motors, why would people care about my opinion?
Okay. So if I suggest you the best, if I suggest my people the best different dishes in the city, around the city, then they'll come to me. Like if they like it, if the majority of people like it, then the people will start coming to me for the better,
So
which is better thing.
Basically, you're telling me different dishes. So I'm getting to know some useful information. I'm getting to eat good food through you.
Yes.
Yeah, just by delivering a great product, you become a thought leader. You deliver great products, your social media handle is empty. You don't make any effort to communicate with your customers. Do you become a thought leader?
No.
Communication is the key, right? Like how you are communicating the brand.
Okay. Now let me ask a very different question. Let me ask a very different question before we bring Mr. Joydeep in, so that we can pick his brain and understand the concept of thought leadership from his point of view. Now, Deep Thought as a company has been conducting various webinars on, say, career counseling. We don't do any career counseling, but we've done sessions on career counseling because parents have asked us. We've done sessions on NEP. What does NEP mean? What does it have to do with the economy? In the post-work world, how are the jobs going to change? How is education going to change? And all of that. And we constantly keep talking about economy and education. Why do we do that when that is not directly connected to our products or services?
Creates a voice.
It's not directly connected, but it is indirectly connected, and like it is we are also connected with education, and the same, like, it is
What
also
are we trying
connected
to achieve through that strategy? What are we trying to achieve? We create WhatsApp groups where there's so many parents who come and ask us questions. We
communicate who we are.
Yeah.
Is it just about communicating who we are, or is it a little beyond?
Through that, we are establishing what we are, and
no, it's still not hitting a bullseye. Yeah, Shivani went first.
So we are trying to educate the audience, and in the process, making them realize what is good or bad. And since due to this education, they are getting directed towards our organization.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, yes, Mr.
So what is the difference between who we are and why we are? What is the difference? Your answer related to thought leadership sits there. Who we are versus why we are.
Okay, why is the like we have maybe picked up need of the people we are targeting to, and then we have built a product.
Right.
So that is why we are.
So in your answers, that person is always missing. You're selling a gulab jamun, the person is missing. You're selling a amazing AI-based resume creator, but that person is missing. So the moment you look at the person rather than yourself, you have taken the first step toward thought leadership. There can
so
be
the person. So the person isn't cause.
No. The person is not a cause. I am a student. You are telling me something. You're going to create a great resume for me. You're going to bring out the best skills that are hidden inside me. You're going to, create amazing, linkages for me so that I get placed properly. All those things are fine. But what are you actually solving as my problem? Why is that parents are coming to your WhatsApp group? Why is it that people are listening to your webinars? Why? That why needs to be answered. So your step towards, so you can do so many things for thought leadership, so many things, but why specific activities? That needs to be understood, and that comes from looking at your audience. That's very, very critical. Your thought leadership comes from there. People will come to you. Why? Because they know if these are the things, this is the person to look forward to. So it is not the gulab jamun. So it's not the product. Product comes much later. Tata Motors. The moment I say Tata Motors, what does it connote to me? Tata Motors have a truck. Tata Motors have a Nexon. That's not the point. But the moment I say Tata Motors, what does it connote? The thought leader is there. Yeah, Tarun, please continue.
Yeah, so I think that was beautifully articulated. Sarah, you were trying to say something, so yeah.
I think that was long ago. So the point has completely changed.
So as Mr. Joydeep rightly articulated, when my audience believes that I am the go-to person, that I have an answer to their questions, that's when they come to me, right?
Yes.
So does it have anything to do with my product, again, as he rightly articulated? My product can help, but does my product have to factor in my thought leadership story necessarily?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so why are we doing all these activities where we give our opinion on different things to parents? Or let's say there's Ganesh Chaturthi, right? I write an article on LinkedIn saying the universal God's birthday and the story of Ganesha and why Ganesha is a universal God, why is he worshipped in so many countries versus other countries, and I give a philosophical perspective of Ganesha. People read it. Morning, people wake up and people want to know something about Ganesha. They get to know something about Ganesha. What is the perception they have around me?
That if I want information around something that is universal, I can go to Tarun.
So again, as Mr. Joydeep said earlier, right? The experiences you create, people remember those experiences and then they're like, okay, this is a go-to person. I can go to this person if I need something. Now I'd like to request everybody to ask some questions to Mr. Joydeep now that he's agreed to give us some time. Okay, how do we as Deep Thought, exhibit thought leadership? As in get our stakeholders, teachers, principals, parents, students, to see us as the go-to person to ask their questions. How do we establish thought leadership? So if you have some questions pertaining to this theme, I think that'll be great. Anyone?
It is ideal time for me to gulp some water.
Yeah, anyone going in with a question?
Okay, I have a question. So, we have a lot of people who are applying here in Deep Thought. So how do we attract or pull those people who maybe think that think about research and think about thought leadership?
So let me know when your question is over.
So this is the question, that how do you portray thought leadership in attracting that talent pool?
Okay, so your answer is already in the question. You started off telling that you are already attracting a lot of people. So why is the other people coming to you? What is it that you are doing by which you are attracting people?
Okay.
Purva, is the problem in attracting people or getting them on board?
Actually, what he's trying to say is how we attract the right kind of audience that will align with our vision of a company.
Given ma, but the Purva said you are attracting a lot of people already. So the question is, how do we position ourselves as thought leaders is the question, or how do we actually make them on board is the question for Joydeep sir.
No. How do we position ourselves as thought leader while attracting the people who are aligned with the thought leadership?
So they already know that we are thought leaders.
The question has changed actually.
Yeah.
You started off telling that you are already attracting a lot of people and how you position yourself. So my response was initially was, why are you attracting a lot of people? What are you doing? Why is it that so many people are coming to you? Your answer lies there.
I hope we are paying. No, I mean, sometimes, Mr. Joydeep, the problem is we're so carried away by our question that we don't listen. What Mr. Joydeep is trying to say is, you're saying that a person X is, or a group of individuals X are already attracted to you. So you need to ask, why are they attracted to you? And that's your answer to attract more. So you ask, why are they coming to you? If you know, if 10 people are coming to you, why are these 10 people coming to you? Your answer lies there.
No, I know that, like, no, the question is, like, 10 people are coming to us, like, coming here, but out of them, like, 8 people may not be very useful to us, or not, don't have the patience and the temperament that we need.
Okay, so can we divert our question to something else, because HR and talent pool is not really a pressing issue here in Deep Thought now, right? So anybody else has a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
No, so before you get into the question, let me see, all questions come from a thought. So the thought needs to be understood. The questions need to dissolve at some point, right? So the point is, Purva, if I'm seeing PUR of your name, I think it's Purva, right? So it is very critical for you to understand that there's certain problems which are good problems and there's certain problems which are to be immediately addressed problems. So if people are already coming to you and you are a startup and it is a source of revenue for you, or it is creating a case for you that a lot of people are coming to you, I don't think you need to be very bothered about those 1-2 guys who are very research oriented. Just hold on to your horses for some time. Let people come. When there are a lot of people coming in, then you get into, okay, let me do a little bit of a classification. So first you need to see a lot of people attracted towards you. That's very, very critical. Right? So I think you are sitting on a good problem. It's a good problem to have. It's not a problem at all.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, Abdullah Anjil, would you have some questions?
Somebody else was asking a question.
Arucha, go ahead.
Yeah, so becoming the thought leader is a long process from a normal person to thought leader. So how can we measure the progress? Like, how can we, as Peter Drucker says, if you can measure it, then you can improve it. So how can we measure? Like, are we going in the right direction or not?
So your measurement can be done in 2-3 ways. One, how many people you are attracting, and are you attracting the right kind of people? So you want to position yourself as a thought leader, but you are getting, people who are beyond all those concepts coming to you. Maybe you're doing a wrong job. Secondly, are you getting phone calls which are actually related to thought leader? That's very critical. And you know for yourself, one very important measurement is, by your actions, is it translating into some real output in terms of number of students, going a little forward, revenue per student? All those measurement techniques are in place. Somewhere you need to relate to that. It's an internal process. There is no formula to this. And sometimes what happens where all this discussion is happening, sometimes it is important to understand that you cannot be a thought leader, but unless you get thought leaders onboarded with you. So it is very critical for, okay, let me give an example. Have you heard this son of? So Joydeep Bhattacharya's son of means the father is still very strong, and hence, that reference is coming in. You need to ride that wave till you position yourself as yourself. So it is very critical to onboard people who are thought leaders. It is very critical. So why do you think Tarun has brought in, two of the jury people here? Why? Why is it so? Because he believes that these two people would try and bring in some sense to you guys. Not that you don't have sense, but because we have, a bit more gray hair and we have seen more sun, it is possible that we'll bring in some sense. It's a work of a thought leader. So if Tarun goes out and says tomorrow that I have a Joydeep Bhattacharya with me, sorry, I'm just taking an example, don't go by my ego trip. He's trying to position himself. The other day I was talking to somebody who is trying to form a company. I said, your company is brilliant, but your board, to use the right word, sucks. You're the only person visible in the board. Nobody invests in a one-man company. What happens if you, meet with an accident and is in bed? What happens to the sponsor's money? What happens to the venture capitalist's money? Within a week's time, he had got connected with people, technology people, journalists. He had connected with people, thought leaders, and suddenly a one-man team has become a 5-member team. It looks robust. So when somebody is looking at that kind of a profile, they say, oh, these guys are capable of delivering. So the thought leader, you become, but before that, connect with thought leaders so that you can walk that path. That's very critical. So the moment you have a school X, which is supposed to be an Ivy League school in its own class, school Y will automatically come to you because school X is already there. To get school X, it is important to have the principal of school X believe in what you are doing. Even if you do something for school X for free, you have school X with you. School X will give to school Y and then school Z. That's very, very critical. So laterally think to achieve something in a credible way. How do you walk? That's very critical.
Thank you so much, sir.
So Joydeep, I have a question to ask you here. How do you think thought leadership varies from a B2B setting to a B2C setting?
So B2C setting is more emotion-based. B2B is more transaction-based. For example, a company like Cisco, Intel, SAP, Oracle, do we directly use their products? We don't. We don't. They will talk to technology companies. They will talk to CTOs. They'll try to get seminars done on how a CTO is facing a problem, how a CTO should look at investment in technology infrastructure. That's how you create those. And while talking, you will say Intel has such a product. Then over time, you realize that you need to bring about the business of these intermediaries. For example, if Intel is a chip used by Microsoft in their laptops and in their computers, sorry, not Microsoft, I mean, maybe a Lenovo, maybe IBM, maybe a Compaq is not there anymore. So HP, what do? You get into a campaign which says Intel inside. So my laptop has Intel or something else, how does it matter to me? But Intel inside, if you read through the ad, you read through the content there, it gives me a great feeling that if my laptop has Intel inside, it's a good laptop. So when HP then says, I have an Intel inside, HP laptops are good. So you create a very good cycle. B2B and B2C. B2C is emotion driven. Of course, it is functional, but B2B is very, very function driven. That's something that you need to keep in mind. If you interact with school teachers, and principles, that would be your B2B. You have to look at function driven, that if you do this curriculum or do this course, your students will be better, they will be going into great colleges, scoring better marks, etc., which means that the school is going to give brilliant student output. Means more students can come into the school. Means with a limited capacity, the fees can go up. I'm relating everything. But when you go and communicate to a parent, you have to be more emotion driven. Your son will get better placed. Your son will be better thinkers. Those are emotion. You cannot immediately measure that your son was thinking 50%, now he's at 75%. You cannot translate that. Right? Those are the simple techniques that you need to use.
Yeah. And I also wanted to ask you, like, since you've seen people dialogue and seen people ask questions here, so what is the advice you would have for the entire team on how everyone can improve the thinking skills and dialoguing skills?
So most of the times the problem and the answers, the problem lies within, but the answers are all around us. So read a lot. It is very important to see what people are doing, how they're solving problems, what are they doing. See, there is no harm in telling that we are individuals with limited capability, but unlimited abilities to learn. So if you learn X and Tarun learns Y, and maybe Gautam learns Z, X plus Y plus Z actually can be X into Y into Z. The multiplier works comes in there. And always remember, if somebody questions you, the intent is not to put you down. The intent is to make you think. Socratic dialogue sits on a lower ego, hence better output kind of a scenario. It is very, very critical for all of you to keep that thing in mind.
Yeah. Would you people have some questions to Mr. Joydeep? Yes, Shweta.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Joydeep. I'm Shweta. Well, you mentioned previously that the first step that you identified, the first step towards the consumer is when you identify that person. And you've also mentioned that experience do matter. Now, my question is that apart from experiences, what are the other factors that we have to take into consideration? Because a lot of times you're like just focusing on the product.
So focusing on the point is, there is this inside out and outside in approach. And if somebody says one is bigger than the other, that person is wrong. It has to be simultaneous. So if you create a product that doesn't have a place, so for example, I understand Pixar was a brilliant product, but it did not do well. Whereas YouTube might be a similar product, did brilliant. It's all a question of timing. It's all a question of, so it is very critical for you to understand what is the problem you're solving. Your product obviously is solving a problem, right? But you're solving somebody else's problem. I was listening to Steve Wozniak, if you guys know who he is. Do you know who Steve Wozniak is? Okay, there were two Steves which created Apple. One was Jobs, the other was Wozniak. Steve Jobs was the marketing guy, the creative guy. Wozniak was the guy who was the coder. Right? So I was listening to Steve Wozniak and he said successful products think like a human, acts like a human. So that is the outside-in approach. So your problem, your product is not king. The person who is interacting your product is the most important person. So I think it is very important to understand that individual, understand what problem you're solving. The more you focus on the problem, the better will be your product, the better will be offtake of your product.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else has a question? Okay. Since Yugandhar Reddy sir has been mentoring some of our team members, I thought it'd be nice if Yugandhar sir could pose a question to Mr. Joydeep so our team could pick his brain.
Yeah, I do. I do want to.
That gives me opportunity to drink more water.
See, as you rightly see here on the screen, the people are very enthusiastic, vibrant, thinking, deep thinkers, in fact, in some format. But the thing is, cohesively getting them work to meet an objective is one of the thing. I mean, they run everywhere. I mean, given the thoughts of Tarun, he puts them in different environments only to get them equipped to understand the macro picture of the entire organization. Now that we are scaling up in a very fast environment, we are running against time kind of thing. So in that context, what you have told us to actually put the end user in the center point and give that experiences makes relevant. We have three kinds of stakeholders other than the investors kind of thing. One, the parents; two, the children, their children, and the third one is the managements of schools. What advice do you give all of us for us to equip in order to deal with them?
Okay, so I think it's not, I'm just responding in a half here because I have interacted with Tarun for quite some time. The interaction went down because we all got busy. But I think one critical thing is to understand the chain of activities. What is the relationship between a teacher or a school management, the student, and the parent? You cannot have three different products, but the product might have three different faces. It is very important as a juggler with the same product to position it in such a way that everybody benefits from it because there is a common interest. The success of the student who is at the center is very relevant for the parent because a baby born is a baby born, but for the principal or the school management also is very relevant because this is the output of the school. And your work is primarily to ensure that the student gets better and better and better. So all your communication needs to relate to that. And please have the courage to say in a very, very diplomatic way what is not working. Most of the time we are yes, sirs. But today, to go better, you need to be a little different in approach. You cannot say you are wrong, but you have to say, maybe you need to try this way and it works. So people are looking for different approaches. That's very critical. And I think from a leadership point of view, what needs to be done is in a fast-paced environment, if you think of a project, break it down into smaller parts. Everybody should understand how his part adds to the larger project. And then it's not painting the tail of an elephant. I'm painting something, but I don't know the tail of the elephant. And if the elephant dances, a lot of things can happen. So it is very important to, from a leadership point of view, to break down the work, give an overall perspective, how that work adds to the larger thing. And that's how ownership will come in. And when people know that my work is relevant and it is going to add to somebody else's work, the whole sense of responsibility and collaboration comes in. Everybody cannot do everything, and then it will get delayed. So you need to break the work. But the larger team needs to know what it relates to. That's very, very critical. So that is where, that integration and the differentiation works.
Thank you, Sarji.
Yeah, Rajesh, go ahead.
Yes, sir, I feel that you would be doing some orientations or like you would be doing some sessions. So I wanted to know that keeping the audience engaged is a problem which we see. Like a lot of times we have participants, but the audience does not get engaged or misses out the whole intake of the session. So do you have some tips like which can be useful for us to engage the audience? Do you have some tactics or some ideas, whether it be an offline event or an online, anyways?
So there are two things that I will tell you. One is one is very gimmicky, right? I mean, we are at the end of the day, we are running a profit and loss account, so everything cannot be and you know something, you know, great work doesn't see the end unless you have some, you know, financials, logistics, you know, the whole health of the project in mind. You cannot just keep on doing great work without understanding all these things. So there will be few things which are gimmicky, and there are few things which are very real. So let me start with the gimmicky thing. Who all has heard some sessions of Sadhguru? Have you heard him telling yes or no? He says something and they say yes or no. Yes or no. What does he do? He keeps the people engaged. So you need to get into that yes and no technique, which necessarily means getting into the solid part of it. This was a gimmicky part. The solid part is, why would your audience be engaged in anything that you do? Why would they get engaged? Aren't you expecting a little too much? Aren't you a little selfish that you think that you are the center of the earth? You're not. Wake up to that reality that you are not the center of the earth. So where is your audience in your program? Is there an audience there? Is there a role for the audience? There is no role for the audience. And that's the reason they're not engaged. For example, why don't you do something gimmicky now? Who are your audience other than the students?
No, sir. Our audience is basically the students, and I had this question basically for today we had a competition Socratic dialogue. So we started from 6 teams, okay, and in the end we had in the finals 2 teams. So the 4 teams which were left out, like 4 into 3, 12 people. So those 12 people, to keep them engaged in the finals also. So that was something related to the question. So
Right.
I was working on the same. Yeah.
So is there anything for the students? See, it is so easy, you know, today if you look at it, and I'm going to give you a real life example for you to, I mean, unless you have a real life example, everything looks theoretical. Who knows what is the problem with the farmers? They're all camped around Delhi. Do you know what the problem with the farmer is? You do not know. But you will have a tremendous interest in the farmer if you're anti-BJP. Because there is some people who are against the government. And you will see a lot of political parties actually adding fuel to the fire. And I also get to read that those political parties actually collaborated in a very positive way with the farm bills. But now they're against. Why am I telling you all these things? It means there has to be some interest either for or against. So when you are doing a question box, why can't you pick some of those people who have been eliminated, if I may use the word, to be a part of the question box? They will come back with a lot of vengeance, you know. People try to poke holes, drill holes. Questioning is so easy. I was seeing Tarun telling, is it relevant? Just stop him. Put a plaster on his mouth and see what happens to those questions. Somebody at some point will ask that, how is your position related to the farm bill that is going around? You know, people can go to that extent. Use those tricks and use some incentives. Very critical. The best question gets this. Just imagine you go back to a bunch of school students who did not, come in the top 2, and tell their teachers that, students did not make it, but there was a brilliant question. Speaks about, ability to think. The school did not lose. Damn it, my students have the ability to think. Wow. You're making winners out of them. So when you add gravity to asking questions, the questions becomes much more delicate. The question becomes much more important. That is the way you engage people. There has to be something for somebody. Even if it is not something for somebody, you need to identify a centerpiece in the cohort. So there is this whole thing called network theory, right? So network theory primarily says that 1.3 billion people need not be inoculated with a vaccine to take care of COVID. So which necessarily means they will identify nodes through which the germs, so there are super spreaders, right? People will identify the super spreaders and they will inoculate that person. They will identify all those. There are methods, mathematical models, statistical models to do that. So what I'm trying to tell is you identify within your curriculum, within your program, all those people and make them champions. So what does that means that out of 10 students who might be not taking interest, get one guy to be a hero. The remaining 9 he will drag in. You need to identify those. Those comes with experience. Those comes with the design of the program. Why don't you make the whole team ask one question rather than one person asking the question? So your question box has a whole school there. They will fight internally that you are not helping me ask a good question from the school. Suddenly, you have the whole school participating in some way or the other. Your design is very critical.
Right. Thank you, sir.